Have you ever found yourself doing something kind of strange? A small habit that feels automatic, almost compulsive, and just a little hard to explain. You know, we often just brush these things off as quirks, but what if they're actually something more? What if they're signals sent from a brain that's under a lot of stress? This quote really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. We're going to explore these signals not as some kind of character flaw, but as a language our brain uses when it can no longer cope in silence. And to do that, we're going to follow the story of one young man. So let me introduce you to Marcus Chen. He's 23, a college senior, and on the surface, he seems like he's got it all figured out. But behind the scenes, his brain is sending out these SOS signals that he doesn't quite understand yet. To his friends, this stuff just looks like typical college stress. But for Marcus, these things feel completely out of his control. He'll pick at his skin without even realizing it. He'll replay conversations in his head for hours on end, and he gets sucked into social media and just can't get out. These aren't really choices he's making. They're compulsions, and they're our first clue. So, what is actually happening here? Let's start with the most obvious signal, the physical one. Because when our minds can't quite put distress into words, our bodies, they often find a way to speak for us. Turns out, Marcus's skin picking has a clinical name. It's part of a category called body-focused repetitive behaviors, or BFRBs for short. Note, the key thing here isn't the behavior itself. The defining feature, according to the research, is that feeling of a profound loss of control. This is a neurobiological pattern, not just some bad habit. And it works in a cycle. It all starts with a trigger, maybe some stress, anxiety, or even just boredom. Then comes the compulsive behavior, the picking or pulling. That provides this very brief dopamine hit, a moment of relief. But then the shame and anxiety come rushing back, which only makes the urge stronger for next time. The brain gets completely trapped in this feedback loop. And this is so crucial to understand. The skin picking isn't the real issue. It's just a symptom. It's the brain's desperate and, counterproductive attempt to self-soothe when it's emotionally overwhelmed. It's a coping mechanism, even if it's a harmful one. Okay, so let's shift gears from the physical to the mental, because it's not just our bodies that get stuck. Our minds can get caught in their own invisible traps, these incredibly powerful, repetitive thought patterns that feel just impossible to break free from. And this brings us to Obsessive-Compulsive disorder, or OCD. Now, OCD isn't what you see in movies. It's not about being super neat or organized. It's a really debilitating cycle where these unwanted, intrusive thoughts, those are the obsessions, create intense anxiety. And to try and ease that anxiety, a person performs a compulsion, a kind of ritual. Now, what's so fascinating here is just how similar this cycle is to the BFRB loop we just saw. An obsession pops into your head and creates anxiety. You perform a compulsion, and for a second, you get some relief. But that relief only makes the original obsession stronger over time. Every single time that ritual works, the brain learns to rely on it, digging the trench of that trap even deeper. And research shows us this has nothing to do with willpower. Brain imaging studies have actually revealed that the circuits responsible for decision-making and forming habits aren't working quite right. It's like the brain's stop button has been hijacked by this incredibly powerful feedback loop. So we've looked at a physical cycle and a mental cycle. They seem different, but are they? What's the connection? Well, the answer really lies in the fundamental design of our brains and how that ancient design is coping with the modern world. This right here, this is the key. Our brains evolved for a world of immediate physical threats and very few rewards. But now, we live in a world of abstract pressures, constant uncertainty, and an endless fire hose of digital dopamine. And that mismatch puts our ancient wiring under an immense amount of strain. And you can actually see that strain show up neurologically in a few key areas. Across a lot of these conditions, we see an overactive amygdala. Think of that as the brain's alarm system, and it's just stuck on high alert. We also see a weakened prefrontal cortex. That's the part that's supposed to regulate our impulses, but its voice gets drowned out under stress. And finally, you have a dopamine system that's been hijacked by all these short-term, unhealthy feedback loops. These are the threads that connect all the different signals. So understanding the science gives us some clarity, which is great, but the next step is about empowerment. It's about learning how to actually listen to these signals and then what to do once you hear them. And if any of this is starting to sound familiar to you, well, you are far from alone. Research suggests that as many as 12 to 18% of college students have diagnosable mental health conditions. This is a common part of the human experience, especially for young minds trying to navigate the pressures of today. Honestly, this is probably the single most important takeaway from our whole discussion today. These behaviors are not weaknesses. They are not failures of character. They are, quite simply, the language of a brain that is struggling and is asking for support. So what does the path forward look like? The research on this is pretty clear. The biggest barriers people face are stigma and just a lack of awareness, not even realizing these signals are signals in the first place. And the most effective tools? They're just as clear. Strong social support from people who get it, and professional care to help regulate that underlying neurobiology.
I really want to leave you with this idea. A struggling brain is not a broken one. You know, a leg in a cast isn't defective, it's healing. We really need to start seeing our mental health in that same light. Struggle as a state, not an identity. It's a process, and one that calls for compassion and care.
So the final question really isn't whether your brain is sending you signals. It is. The real question is, are you ready to stop judging those signals and start listening? Because once you learn to hear what your brain is truly trying to say, you can finally begin the journey of giving it what it actually needs.